Hey everybody, it's Gabby. So I'm bringing you my marinara red sauce recipe. That's what we're here for today. So yeah, I'm really just gonna hop in. There's a hodgepodge of things behind me, but that's why. So first, I'm actually going to make a meatless sauce. I promise you won't be able to tell the difference. I made this a couple weeks ago and my husband was literally like, you could tell me all day that this is beef and I'd believe you. Or like turkey, because sometimes the texture or the color isn't quite so deep because I'm using TBP. I love TBP, particularly Bob's Red Mill TVP, which I will say, they used to sell them in a 4-pack like they do now, but they were in different packaging and they didn't have a resealable thing. This is magic. Bob, I love you. This is great. Thank you for the freaking sealing bag because this is amazing. But my nose is so itchy. I think I have like a hair or something because it's been bothering me. But I don't feel like I'm gonna sneeze. It feels like I'm being like tickled and I don't know why. And I'm like, I know I have nose rings, but it's not. Anyway. So this is reversed. But the calorie information for a quarter cup, this is dry, obviously, like non-rehydrated. 80 calories, 0 grams of fat, 9 carbs, 5 net carbs. There's 2 grams of sugar, but there's none added. And there's 12 grams of protein for a quarter cup. So I'm going to use about, I would say maybe like a little bit less than half this bag. And I'm going to rehydrate it with about 2 cups of water, 2 cups of hot water. And let it hang out while I start doing the rest of my stuff because you do want to rehydrate it because it literally looks like cereal. Like it looks like rice. So I'm not measuring. You probably could. Does it look weird? Yeah. I would not just like eat this like this. Just saying. But yeah, okay. I'm getting it everywhere. So I'm going to use about half the bag. All right, so I took one of these Edward & Sons not beef bouillon cubes. I have the chicken ones and these ones, and they're great. Like, I prefer to use, like, vegetable broth or, like, broth of some sort when I'm using, like, water in a savory recipe, just because it adds significantly more flavor. That is also a reason as to why you won't see me, like, adding loads of like table salt to my food because I always try to substitute with like additional depths of flavor with spices rather than just laying on like salt and pepper because it's not flavor, if that makes sense. It's not spices, they're seasonings. So I mixed one of these cubes, which they're like, I think one of this is equivalent to about 2 cups of broth. This is probably about 2.5 cups of broth. Our like tap water gets really hot, so I just use that. Don't come at me for sports. These are Dan's sports. I don't do sports. I don't follow sports. So now that I've got that good and mixed up, I'm literally just gonna pour it on top of this and to get some on the cutting board, which is fine. And I'm just gonna like mix it around. And it does, I know it looks like cereal, but less appetizing. And it's like, I can feel it like starting to rehydrate, but I'm literally just going to set it aside. If I were to do tacos or something along the lines of tacos, I would like, after about 10 minutes or so, whatever liquid is still left, I would drain that off and then add oil into the pan, brown it up, add my like spices and seasonings and stuff like that, to make it taco-y or whatever. If I really was trying to use it as like a ground, and I am using it as a ground, but it's like in a sauce, whatever liquid is left, because I also want the flavor from the bouillon, I'm just gonna leave. So I'll just dump that into the pot when I add like my tomatoes and stuff like that. So I'm going to just dice an onion, show you how I do that, and then we're gonna flip around to the stove and I'm gonna get started. I diced up my onions. I added about 2.5 tablespoons of salted butter to a warm pot.
I let that melt and then added those diced onions. I added just a dash of Lawry seasoning salt, just to help draw out the extra water. I'm not quite caramelizing them, but that is about the technique that I'm using for about that 10-minute period or so until I'm ready to take that next step.
Okay, so our onions have been hanging out for quite some time. They are definitely looking nice and not quite caramelized, but that's not what I'm going for. I'm not trying to caramelize the onions. So, but we're getting pretty close. That's like the track that we're on. So next I'm going to add a hefty amount of garlic, which what I do is I buy the big bags of peeled garlic from like Sam's or Costco, throw a bunch of them in my blender with some olive oil and just like pulse blend them until they're this kind of like minced, crushed, chopped situation. Put some more olive oil on the top. I freeze some of them, and then they're good in the fridge for about like 3 weeks or so, I would say, with the additional olive oil in an airtight container. So I'm throwing in a hefty amount because I am garlic. That's just me. So we're going to let this go for not very long, maybe like a minute maximum, and then we're going to add in our tomato paste. And you'll like really start to smell it. Like it'll hit a point where like you'll smell it when it hits the pan, and then it's just gonna bloom. And God, it smells good. It's just onions and garlic and a little bit of butter. I'm actually not gonna add any additional olive oil because I do still have a fair amount of oil in the pan. So this is crucial. If you are making sauce from scratch, you do not need to add sugar. I will die on this hill. Do not add sugar to your sauce. It does not neutralize acid. You know what does? Bicarb. Or like baking soda. If you want to neutralize acid, use that. That's it. You're not neutralizing anything. You're just adding sugar to your sauce. Unnecessary sugar. So, you know how like tomatoes, a fruit, it's got a lot of natural sugars in it? We're going to really caramelize this tomato paste. It's going to get really, really sweet. And then we're going to add in our tomatoes. And once we do that, with our water and stuff, as it cooks down, that sweetness is going to continue to come out of not only the tomato paste, but the even canned tomatoes that you add. They don't have to be fresh tomatoes. I like to use a combination of both when I can, but that's not always an option like today. I don't have any fresh tomatoes on hand. So, I've been shot. But I don't know if I said this, but I don't measure anything. I just do. That's all. This will also smell divine once that tomato paste hits and really mixes in with either that butter or oil. Oh. I'll worry about my shirt later. It'll be fine. Just a reminder before anybody comes at me for no sugar in sauce, my last name is Corsetti Petrillo. Okay, that's all. That's it. I am going to go ahead and add in my additional spices right now. I'm adding a wee bit of Italian seasoning. I'm going to add some garlic powder, even though I did add quite a hefty amount of garlic itself. It tastes different. A lot of the time, garlic powder is like roasted garlic, I'm pretty sure. I could be crazy. I might be. And I'm going to add, if I can find the opening, a wee bit of red pepper flake. Not too much. I don't want to die, as I say, continue to add. I just mean, like, I don't want it to be, like, ridiculously spicy. But I'm going to whip these things around in here. And then I'm going to get the water, the tap water running behind me just so I can get it heated up. And then I'm going to add that in instead of cool water just to kind of help that additional bouillon cube that I'm going to add. Alright, so I'm going to talk just a little bit louder so hopefully you can hear me over the water and the fan and all of the things. But I'm going to go ahead and add the TBP. This is what it looks like rehydrated. Kind of almost like just like ground meat. This makes a really good like chicken salad, like a non-chicken chicken salad. And yeah, like if you use the chicken broth, which I was like thinking about doing, I eat meat, but I also like am still very much like a meatless food stan, and I've been eating more meatless food and meals just in the last couple of weeks. Honestly, it's kind of inspiring me to get back in the kitchen and cook and play with food again. And yeah, like it's great. My husband, you know, isn't missing out on not eating meat. Like I said, we still do eat meat, but this is something that like this isn't just a me thing. Like the food is actually good. I will fix this like right now, actually. All right. So and if it's not like fully dissolved or doesn't fully dissolve, I'm not too worried because it is going like into something. Like I would be more concerned if I was just using this for like taco meat or something like that, and I was trying to rehydrate the TBP and like get as much flavor as possible. But as you saw, there wasn't very much liquid that wasn't absorbed. The TBP probably sat for maybe about 15 minutes or so in total, like, and that's like on the high end. It might have even been less than that. So if you do use TBP, I just suggest it being one of the first things that you prep, and then when you're ready for your like meat, it's ready for you. I'm going to add in my tomato sauce, just a can. Honestly, I use whatever tomato products I have. It changes. It really does. I'm going to add in some fire-roasted crushed tomatoes from Trader Joe's. I'm going to pour the broth in the can to get the rest of the tomato stuff out. And that is just how we roll. So I add that, and then I'm just going to get another, I'm going to fill this with water to get the rest of the tomato. Alright, so this is currently how we're looking. It's not very thick, which is good because we're going to cook this down. But I have a couple things left before I let this start to roll. First, this is probably like my secret ingredient if I had one. It's this. The next one I feel like isn't so secret, but maybe it is. Also, this is still definitely there, but it's just not as bad. Adding, like, literally you're going to see the tiniest amount of balsamic vinegar will not only instantly make this smell like bruschetta a little bit, but it just hits different. I don't know how else to describe it, but like literally a quarter of a teaspoon, maybe. I'm gonna mix that in. And my favorite thing to do, I'm gonna look like such a weirdo, is literally just stick my nose right over it, and it just smells so good. Like, so good. And then last, I'm going to use 2 of these because they're a little bit small, but this is like one of the things that just puts this over the top, in my opinion. I have a brand new container. Some Parmesan Rinds. If you can find them, they're excellent. I put 1 or 2. These are, like I said, they're kind of small. I'm going to put 2 in, and you literally just, like, you put them in like a bay leaf and then fish them out. But a lot of the time there's, like, a little bit of this kind of, like, cheesy buildup on the outside, and that will kind of, like, melt off and get all up in here. But it provides just so much umami flavor and adds that just kind of, like, cheesiness as the pot is spinning. But yeah, I'm going to let this simmer pretty well, like get it up to a little bit of a boil for about maybe like 10 or 20 minutes. And then I'm going to drop it to a simmer, slap a lid on it, and let it go for a few hours. So I will check back in probably in about 2 hours or so. I would say that my minimum amount of time when cooking sauce ideally is like 4 hours or so. If I have longer than that, that's always better. All right, so it is 3:20, and it's probably been like right about 2 hours, maybe just over 2 hours, since I kind of like really started to let it go on its own. It smells delicious, but you can't smell it. It has like thickened up a bit. I don't know. I'm sure you can tell. It just is like taking some more resistance. Here's the current status of one of our Parmesan Rinds. They are pretty easy to fish out in the end and whatnot, but I'm just going to keep the lid on this. When I start to get ready to like boil my pasta, that's when I'll pull the lid off, and I might turn it up just a little bit to try to burn off some additional liquid. But I'm leaving this lid on here, as you can see, just kind of like almost got a little bit of a crack, so I'm releasing some steam, which with that, you know, the water is cooking off, it's getting thicker. And that'll continue to happen, as you can see, like the ring light from this side. But yeah, so it's going. It's probably gonna go. I mean, truthfully, I'll probably eat like, I don't know, in like maybe 4 hours or so. So it's got another like, you know, significant leg to go. And I'll check back in right around then when I'm getting ready to put it on, and then of course I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Of course. And Shannon's coming over for dinner. Dan's working tonight, so he will have food when he gets home, and he'll have food for obviously days to come, because that's the great thing about making like red sauce or marinara in bulk, is having some meals for the rest of the week. Anyway, I will be back. I look kind of disheveled, but that's okay. I will be back in probably 2 more hours. If not, then I will see you when I'm making the pasta. Alright, so this is the sauce, like, almost 1 to 7, 6 hours later, about 6 hours later. I'm about to fish out the Parmesan rinds. Alright, and then I will just chuck those in the trash can. But this is the sauce. It's gorgeous. It's thick. Like, what's not to love? I'm just going to serve it over some penne. Probably with a little bit of mozzarella, because that's what I have. But, yeah, that's it. Truthfully, like, you know, the secret is just letting it roll low and slow. It's pretty simple. The only thing that I did to adjust it was I added a little bit of seasoning salt, but I would say like less than a teaspoon, honestly, and just some fresh black pepper, because I forgot to add that when I was cooking it earlier. So I added that in, and that's all. That is it. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me and coming along while I make this, and I hope you learned something along the way. But I will talk to you guys later. Bye!